This is part 4 of our 20-part series on the history of Australia. In the previous episodes, we explored how Australia was discovered. In our last episode, we saw how the first fleet arrived in 1788. But today's story reveals something shocking. Australia once began as a giant prison colony. Today, Australia is one of the most developed and peaceful countries in the world. Its cities are vibrant, modern, and full of life. But more than 200 years ago, thousands of prisoners were sent across the world to live in this harsh and unfamiliar land. So the question is, why did Britain send prisoners all the way to Australia? The answer begins in the late 1700s. Britain faced a serious crisis. Its prisons were completely full. During the 18th century, Britain experienced a huge rise in crime. Many people were extremely poor, and even small crimes like stealing food or clothes could result in prison. Soon, the prisons became overcrowded for many years. Britain had solved this problem by sending prisoners to America, but after the American Revolution, in 1776, this was no longer possible. So the British government began searching for another distant land. Eventually, they chose a huge and mysterious continent in the southern hemisphere. That place was Australia. In 1787, Britain prepared a group of ships known as the First Fleet. These ships carried about 750 prisoners, along with soldiers and officials. After an extremely long journey of around 8 months, they finally arrived in 1788. They settled at a location that would later become the city of Sydney. This marked the beginning of European settlement in Australia. However, life in the new colony was extremely difficult. Food was limited, the environment was unfamiliar, and survival was a daily struggle over the next several decades. Many more ships arrived carrying thousands of prisoners. These prisoners were forced to work and help build the colony. They constructed roads, farms, buildings, and bridges. In fact, many of the earliest buildings in Sydney were built by convicts. Some prisoners eventually completed their sentences and earned their freedom once free. They were allowed to start new lives in Australia. Some even became successful farmers and business owners. Slowly, the small prison colony began to grow into a real society over time. Many people in Australia began to oppose the idea of sending prisoners there. They believed the country should grow as a free society. Because of this pressure, Britain gradually stopped transporting prisoners. Finally, in 1868, the transportation of convicts to Australia officially ended. By that time, more than 160,000 prisoners had been sent to Australia.